From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Hello, Mr. and Mrs. America. I am Keith Allen and proudly welcoming you to this edition of For the People for a Labor Day 2018. Senator John McCain, six-term senator, presidential candidate. It's Capitol Hill right now. Mitch McConnell right now is eulogizing Senator McCain. So a little audio from there right now.
Our noble idealism, our solemn patriotism, and our slightly irreverent streak all rolled into one. I will miss a dear friend whose smile reminded us that service is a privilege, and whose scars reminded us of the great cost that brave souls pay for our freedom. John felt like family, but of course it is Cindy and Roberta and Joe and Doug, Andy, Sydney, Megan, Jack, Jimmy, and Bridget who could truly call this man their own. On behalf of the Senate and the entire nation, thank you. Thank you for lending him to us longer than we had a right. Thank you for supporting him while he supported us. Half a world away, wearing our nation's uniform, John McCain stood up for every value that this Capitol building represents. Then he brought that same patriotism inside its walls to advocate for our service members, our veterans, and our moral leadership in the world. So it is only right that today, near the end of his long journey, John lies here in this great hall, under this mighty dome, like other American heroes before him. Here, as a restless wave approaches the shores of eternity, we thank God for giving this country John McCain.
Ladies and gentlemen, at Capitol Hill, as we speak, watching the memorial service that's taking place on Friday. A funeral is taking place, a celebration for Aretha Franklin in Detroit. We're going to be honoring her as well today. Several things taking place. You know, a lot of people have looked back and looked at the life of John McCain, and a lot of mixed feelings when it comes to his politics. Some people angry at him that he did not vote in favor of the repeal for Obamacare. And, of course, Donald Trump a little upset. A lot of people just asking questions this week regarding the handling of the flag. Normally, you know, when somebody dies of such high stature, it is up and remains up until the burial. And so there was a lot of crap going on back and forth on MSNBC and CNBC and even Fox News talking about this very thing. Of course, Donald Trump wanting to step in, and he's insisting that he properly handled and honored John McCain following his death, but he wouldn't say whether he thought that the Arizona Republican would have made a better president than Barack Obama. Okay, this is the media talking. All right, media asking questions during a tough time. Everybody knows that there was a contentious relationship between Donald Trump and John McCain. But nobody can argue the patriotism of John McCain today. Nobody can argue that he was a staunch defender of freedom. He loved this country. He sacrificed himself. I can't imagine. And he joked about it quite often, tongue in cheek, about being tied up. People asked him if what he thought about Woodstock. He said he was tied up, but literally he was, and endured the imprisonment and the horrors of the Viet Cong. And I just can't imagine that. But he did this, and others did this too, but he dedicated himself to service to his country, not just in the military that he proudly served, but also to the Senate. And he was a maverick. There were bills that were proposed. Some were good. Some were not. The Gang of Eight, some immigration stuff that went on wasn't the greatest. And then the McCain-Feinstein. Yeah, exactly. There was just stuff that was unconstitutional that was proposed, and there were some questionables in his personal life and in serving. But, there's not a perfect person out there. But John McCain was very vocal, very visible in the media, and seemed to always be in the forefront of some type of argument at Capitol Hill. And that's where his body right now is lying in repose. And not everybody gets this attention. Presidents usually get this kind of attention. There was only about three back into 1916, about three, and that have had this distinction of having this many days from Arizona and stops in between for people to honor him right now. And to this extent, no doubt, John McCain loved his country and served. And just like anybody that has served in the U.S. Capitol, you're not going to agree. But he has friends on both sides of the aisle. And even though they didn't agree with a lot of things that they argued about, they were friends. And that's the interesting thing about Washington. At the end of the day, when the cameras go off, the microphones go away, that they can put politics aside and talk about things other than that, such as family, who's playing who, family, church, everyday things. John McCain will be missed. I think I'll miss seeing his face. He had seemingly, even with the brain cancer, just so much energy for an older man. And I think it really, for me at least, you got to keep on fighting for what you believe. You got to keep on fighting for what you believe, no matter what the age is. And he didn't even let cancer hold him back. But, the treatments weren't working. He knew that. And he had days to live afterwards. On Monday, Donald Trump refused to say a word about McCain during his events at the White House, ignoring reporters' questions on at least 4 occasions. And after the American Legion wrote a letter to the president imploring him to recognize McCain, Trump relented. The flag atop the White House roof was lowered again at 3:30 p.m. So that's how it ended. And the president issued a statement honoring McCain. He said, "I respect his service to the country." And it was left at that. Now, something very interesting. There's just a lot of news, a lot of headlines surrounding the great senator. But John McCain will apparently get one final shot at a longtime nemesis. Do you know who that is? No, it's not Donald Trump. It's Vladimir Putin. By having a sworn enemy of the Russian president in one of his 14 pallbearers. And when they were walking him up today, it's a rainy day on the East Coast, at least in Washington, D.C., and I was just praying that the pallbearers would not slip, but there was just enough of them and they were all in sync, and so it just worked out very, very nicely. It could be slippery. Vladimir Kara-Muzar, if I'm pronouncing it right, who survived 2 near-fatal poisonings that his family believes were ordered by Putin, joining actor Warren Beatty, former Colorado Democratic Senator Gary Hart, and others to carry McCain's casket at National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. this weekend. Filmmaker and one-time right-hand man to the late Putin foe and political Boris Nemtsov. Kara Muzra, 37, almost died in February 2017 when he was hospitalized in Russia for kidney failure. But anyway, there it is. Every detail about his funeral and how it goes down and who attended. And yeah, Sarah Palin, she wasn't welcome. Donald Trump wasn't welcome. By the way, there's a lot of other people that weren't welcome too. Yeah, everybody can't come. But it's how he chooses to be remembered, like it or not, whether he dissed them. And, you're not going to get along with everybody in life. It's just how it goes down. My personal thoughts about the flag, I think that Donald Trump could have handled that in a better way. I understand the contentious relationship, but I go into it with that knowledge and understanding that it was just that. Donald Trump fights for what he believes, and John McCain, the late Senator John McCain, fought for everything that he believed, and he didn't care. He went against his own party many times. People did not like that quite, but he was true to what he believed. And, at the end of the day, you got to be true to yourself. You got to be true to whatever your belief is. Hopefully, it's a good belief, and one that actually is grounded in helping solve the problems rather than exacerbate the problems or make them worse. But if I look at the bill for Obamacare and the promises that were made, it wasn't a perfect bill, but I see where McCain came from. I understand what his logic was, and that was, if you don't have anything better, then why would we blow the thing up? Until you have something in black and white that makes sense, then we're going to have to keep it. And it was one of those things because it was a campaign promise that he was going to repeal and replace, and he wanted to stay true to the base and continuing doing it because it was a campaign promise. And he really campaigned very strong on that, if you can recall. A lot of people asking if Cindy McCain is going to replace her husband in the Senate. Many of insiders, political pundits, though it seems like a nice idea, she is not. NBC proud to report Sarah Palin not invited to John McCain's funeral. I already mentioned that. But NBC had to go ahead and just say that. A source within the Palin family told NBC, out of respect to Senator McCain and his family, we have nothing to add at this point, emphasizing the family will always cherish their friendship with the McCains and hold those memories dear. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about John McCain, Senator McCain, who died this past Saturday, at age 81 from brain cancer. He's going to be buried in public at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, on Sunday, following a series of memorial services throughout the week. He's in Capitol Hill right now, and if you're listening live, you can tune into your news channel on television and watch. But we'd like to say God bless the McCain family. God bless America, and because of his service, I think we're all better off because of a lot of his service and his dedication to this country. And again, not everybody sided with all the passions and thoughts and persuasions of John McCain,